When South Africa was in desperate need of redemption, one man answered the call. A tactician, motivator, and innovator. Rassie Erasmus. He wasn't just what South African rugby needed. He was everything the nation hoped for and more. In just a few short years, he transformed a faltering Springbok squad into an unstoppable force, embodying the spirit of an entire nation. But how did he do it? How did Erasmus manage to unite a fractured country, build a formidable team, and produce a captain that would go down in history? Come with me as we unravel the story of how Rassie Erasmus didn't just help South Africa win the 2019 Rugby World Cup. He completely changed the landscape of South African rugby and in many ways, its national identity. Before Rassie, a nation in crisis, a team in despair. It's easy to forget just how far South African rugby had fallen before Rassie Erasmus took the reins. The mighty Springboks, two-time World Cup winners, were struggling. The lows were shocking. A 57-0 hammering at the hands of New Zealand in 2017. A record loss to Ireland, and general inconsistency that left fans disillusioned. The team that had once made nations tremble now looked lost on the field. And off the field, things weren't much better. South Africa was grappling with political unrest, deep-seated divisions and social inequalities. The Springboks, traditionally a symbol of national unity, were floundering. What they needed wasn't just a coach, they needed a leader. Then came the appointment that would change everything. Johan Rassie Erasmus was named head coach of the Springboks in early 2018.
Finally heard confirmation of what is arguably the worst-kept secret in South African rugby, the appointment of Rassie Erasmus as the Springbok coach.
To say that the nation's hopes rested on his shoulders would be an understatement. But for those who knew Erasmus, this wasn't just a man taking on a job. It was a man on a mission. Before we dive any deeper, if you're enjoying this deep dive into Rassie Erasmus's incredible impact on South African rugby, we'd love for you to join our community by subscribing. It's completely free and helps us continue bringing you more stories like this. Also, you won't miss out on any of our upcoming rugby content. Thanks so much for being here with us. Now, let's get back to the journey. Rassie's blueprint, a tactical revolution. From the moment Erasmus took over as head coach, it was clear that this wasn't going to be business as usual. Erasmus had a vision, a bold, ambitious, and meticulously crafted plan. His approach was rooted in the fundamentals, but layered with innovative tactics that would change how the Springboks played. First and foremost, Rassie understood South Africa's traditional strengths, physicality, dominance in the set pieces, and a fearsome defense. But it wasn't enough just to rely on brute force. The modern game had evolved, and Erasmus knew that South Africa had to evolve with it. He introduced tactical nuance, particularly his now famous rush defense. Rather than waiting for the opposition to come to them, Erasmus wanted his team to attack the ball, shutting down space and applying relentless pressure. It was a high-risk strategy, but when executed well, it was almost impossible to counter. His tactical acumen also extended to how he used his squad. Erasmus wasn't afraid to rotate players or use his substitutes in creative ways. He saw the game as a chess match, and he was always thinking several moves ahead. South Africa's physicality became even more imposing as Erasmus built a squad that could sustain intensity for 80 minutes and beyond if needed. But tactics alone don't win World Cups. It was Rassie's ability to inspire and unify his team that truly set them apart. Siya Kolisi, the perfect captain for the new era. Every great coach needs a captain who embodies the team's values, and in Siya Kolisi, Rassie found the perfect leader. But Kolisi was more than just a rugby player. He was a symbol, a living embodiment of South Africa's potential for change change and unity. Born in the township of Zwide, Khaleesi's rise to prominence was a story that inspired millions. He grew up in poverty, often playing rugby with makeshift balls because his family couldn't afford to buy him a real one. And yet, through sheer determination, Khaleesi clawed his way to the top. He didn't just earn the respect of his teammates, he captured the heart of a nation. When Erasmus made Khaleesi the first black captain of the Springboks, it was a moment that transcended sport. South Africa, still grappling with its apartheid past, saw in Khaleesi a symbol of hope, of progress, of what the future could look like. But this wasn't a political gesture. Khaleesi earned that captaincy, and under his leadership, the Springboks became a team that played for something bigger than rugby. They played for each other, for their families, for their country. Khaleesi, quiet but unyielding, led by example. He didn't need grand speeches or dramatic gestures. His presence on the field spoke volumes. Together, Khaleesi and Erasmus formed a leadership duo that changed the course of South African rugby forever. The road to glory, the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Fast forward to 2019, the Rugby World Cup was on the horizon, and while many teams were touted as favourites, New Zealand, England, Ireland, few believed that South Africa could go all the way, but Rassie had other ideas. The Springboks had evolved into a well-oiled machine. Their defence was suffocating, their set pieces precise, and their tactical flexibility unmatched. And at the heart of it all was Erasmus, orchestrating every play, every decision, like a master conductor leading his orchestra. In the pool stages, they suffered a setback, losing to New Zealand in a hard-fought battle. But instead of seeing it as a failure, Erasmus used the defeat as fuel. South Africa came out stronger, hungrier, and more focused. By the time they reached the knockout stages, there was an air of inevitability about the Springboks. Against Japan, they were ruthless. Against Wales in the semi-final, they were clinical. And then came the final, a showdown with England, who had just demolished New Zealand in the semi-final and were riding a wave of confidence. What happened next was pure rugby history. From the very first whistle, South Africa imposed themselves on England, both physically and tactically. The scrums were brutal, the tackles ferocious, and every time England thought they had found a way through, they were met with a green wall. Erasmus's game plan was genius in its simplicity. While many expected South Africa to keep it tight and rely on their forwards, Erasmus surprised everyone by playing expansively when it mattered most. The Springboks unleashed their backline with precision, and when Cheslin Kolbe danced past the England defence to score the final try, it was the exclamation point on a masterclass performance. The final score, 32-12. South Africa were world champions, but more than that, they had restored their place as rugby's dominant force. More than rugby, a nation united. When Siya Kolisi lifted the Webb Ellis Cup, it wasn't just a victory for the Springboks. It was a victory for South Africa, a country that had been through so much turmoil, but for one moment could celebrate as one. Under Rassie Erasmus, the Springboks had become more than just a rugby team. They were a symbol of hope, of unity, of what South Africa could achieve when it came together. The victory was cathartic, not just for the players, but for the entire country. It was a reminder that sport has the power to heal, to unite, to inspire. And Rassie Erasmus understood that better than anyone. Rassie's legacy, a lasting impact. After the World Cup, Erasmus transitioned into the role of South Africa's director of rugby. His influence on the team remained, as did the structures he put in place. Under his guidance, the Springboks continued to dominate, winning the 2021 British and Irish Lions series in dramatic fashion. But Erasmus's legacy goes far beyond wins and trophies. He showed South Africa and the world that with the right leadership, anything is possible. He gave the Springboks their pride back, their identity back, and in doing so, he helped restore hope to a nation. Erasmus's story isn't just one of rugby success, it's a story of resilience, of belief, and of the power of sport to bring people together. Back-to-back champions. South Africa's epic journey in the 2023 Rugby World Cup. Fast forward to 2023, and the air was thick with anticipation. The Springboks, fresh off their triumph in 2019, weren't just defending champions. They were on a mission to carve their names into history. Led by the ever-charismatic Rassie Erasmus, this was more than just rugby. It was about legacy. Each match unfolded like an epic tale of determination and courage. The Springboks faced formidable foes, each clash a fierce battle of wills. But with each game, their bond grew stronger, fueled by a shared vision of glory. It wasn't just the skills or strategy that set them apart, it was the unbreakable spirit of a nation rallying behind them. As they advanced through the tournament, South Africa found themselves facing New Zealand in the final match. The stage was set, and the atmosphere was electric. The world held its breath as the Springboks and All Blacks clashed for rugby's ultimate prize. The final, held at the iconic Stade de France, was a battle for the ages. From the first whistle, South Africa imposed their physicality, striking first with a powerful try. New Zealand, unfazed, responded fiercely, but the Springbok defense stood tall, a green wall of resilience. In a gripping contest, South Africa retained their title by narrowly defeating New Zealand 18-17, marking a historic achievement. They became the first team to win the tournament 4 times, and remarkably, they were the only team to ever win every World Cup final they played in. This victory was even more impressive, as it was their second triumph over New Zealand in a final, having previously beaten them 15-12 after extra time in 1995. As the minutes ticked away, South Africa's strategic brilliance shone through. With the scoreline tight, they displayed tactical mastery and unleashed their backs, showcasing the depth of their talent. Each knockout game had been a nail-biter. Against France, England, and New Zealand, each won by a razor-thin margin of just 1 point. They had done it. Back-to-back World Cup champions. As Siya Kolisi lifted the trophy high, the South African flag waved triumphantly in the background, a powerful symbol of unity and resilience. Rassie Erasmus didn't just change South African rugby, he changed South Africa itself. And for that, his name will forever be etched in the annals of history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the magic of Rassie Erasmus and South African rugby, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. That way you'll never miss out on our future insights into the biggest game changers in rugby history. Your support helps us bring more content that celebrates the passion, drama, and brilliance of the sport. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.